Starting with the great name of Allah, who is the most merciful and beneficent. Assalamualikum, my dear listeners. Welcome to Knowledge Syndicate. So today we will going to start our English 1 course, that is the basics of our grammar. In previous lecture we have studied about introduction to linguistics, skills for linguistics, and introduction to grammar, and what is a sentence and different kinds of sentences on the basis of function. So in today's lecture, we will going to start our kind of sentences on the basis of structure. Then what is a subject and a predicate, what is clause and different types of clauses. Let us begin our today's lecture. Kind of sentences on the basis of structure. So on the basis of structure, sentence can be of 3 types, that is simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. So further moving to these kinds, at first we must know that what is a subject, what is a predicate, and what is clause. So subject is the part which names the person or thing we are speaking out, and predicate is the part which tells something about the subject, is called the predicate of the sentence. In other words, we can say that a subject is something we speak about, and predicate is something about that subject. That a predicate is simply, we can say that predicate modifies the subject, or it tells us some information about the subject. So subject of a sentence usually comes at the beginning of the sentence, but occasionally it is put after the predicate. We will take it from the example. For example, here comes the example, here comes the bus. So here bus is a subject and here comes is a predicate, as we are describing that bus is coming. So bus is the subject and here comes is the predicate. In imperative sentences, for example, here the second example is sit down. It is a kind of imperative sentence. So usually in imperative sentences the subject is left out. For example, in here sit down, you is the subject which is hidden, but it is understood that there is a subject you. The next one is nature is the best physician. Here nature is the subject and best physician is the predicate. Like we are describing the nature, we are describing nature, that it is the best physician. So moving towards clause, a group of words that form part of sentence and has a subject and predicate of its own is called a clause. So clause is that part of a sentence that has its own subject and that has its own predicate. For example, I graduated last year. So here I graduated last year is a clause. It is a part of any sentence and it is a clause. It is usually called one clause sentence because here comes only one clause. This sentence has its own subject and its own predicate. The next example is when I came here, I saw him. So here we have 2 clauses. That is one, when I came here, and the second one is I saw him. So it is 2 clause sentence. The next one is when I came here, I saw him and he greeted me. So here we have 3 clauses in this sentence. When I came here, I saw him and he greeted me. So this is 3 clause sentence. There is one important thing, that the subject of a clause can be mentioned or hidden, but the verb must be apparent and distinguishable. So in a clause, the subject can be hidden. It's up to us that we mention the subject or we will not mention the subject, but the verb must be apparent. Verb must be written and verb must be apparent and distinguishable from all other words in a sentence. So moving towards different types of clauses, we have in journal 5 types of clauses, that is independent clause, dependent clause, principal clause, coordinate clause, and non-finite clause. So these are the 5 types of clauses. The remaining 3, adjective clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause, are the types of dependent clauses. These 3 are the types of dependent clauses. We will go through these one by one in detail. So starting with independent clause, it functions on its own to make a complete meaningful sentence. Independent clause is a part of sentence that makes a complete meaningful sentence, that gives us complete sense. In a sentence, 2 independent clauses can be connected by coordinators. So we can have 2 clauses in a same sentence. So when we have 2 independent clauses in a same sentence, we join them or we connect them by coordinating conjunctions that are and, but, so, or, etc. So for example, we will take it from the example like he is a wise man. He is a wise man. It is an independent clause. The next one is do it please. So here the subject is hidden. The subject you is hidden. The next one is I want to buy a phone but I don't have enough money. So in this sentence we have two clauses. The first one is I want to buy a phone, and the second one is I don't have enough money. So these two are two different independent clauses that are joined together by a coordinator, that is but. So the next one is Alex smiles whenever he sees her. So here we have only one clause, that is Alex smiles. It is an independent clause that Alex smiles, because Alex smiles, we can take it as different from the other words in a sentence. Alex smiles can stand alone and can give us a complete meaning. So moving towards the second type, that is dependent clause. It cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. It is also called subordinate clause. The subordinators do the work of connecting the dependent clause with another clause to complete the sentence. So, dependent clause is a type of clause that does not give us a complete sentence, or that does not makes a complete sense, and it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. They are also called subordinate clause. They are usually called subordinate clause, but their actual name is dependent clause because they depends on any other clause to complete their sentence. We join one dependent clause with another clause by the subordinators to complete the sentence. For example, when I was dating Diana, I had an accident. So here, when I was dating Diana is an dependent clause. Because it does not give us a complete meaning, so it needs another clause to complete its sentence. The next one is I know the man who stole the watch. Here, who stole the watch is dependent clause that needs another clause to complete its sentence. The next one is he bought a car which was too expensive. So here, which was too expensive is our dependent clause. The next one is he is very talented player though he is out of form. So here, though he is out of form is an dependent clause because it does not give us a complete meaning or complete sense in a sentence. So further, we can say the dependent clauses of three types, as I've told you earlier, that is adjective clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause. So adjective clause have similar qualities as adjectives. Adjective is something that modifies the noun. So adjective clause have a similar quality. It modifies the noun. For example, Finn is asking for the shoes which used to belong to his dad. So here, which used to belong to his dad is an adjective clause because it is modifying the noun shoes. It is modifying here shoes is the noun, and it is modifying the noun that which used to belong to his dad. Finn is asking for the shoes which used to belong to his dad. So it is modifying the noun. The next one is I am looking for the red book that went missing last week. So here, that went missing last week is our adjective clause, and red book is our noun because we are describing the noun here that went missing last week. We are describing the noun book. So the next one is noun clause. Dependent clauses acting as noun in a sentence are called noun clause. Noun, basically what is noun? Noun is a naming word. So the dependent clause that acts as a noun in a sentence are noun clauses. For example, I like what I hear. So here, what I hear is a noun clause. The next one is he know how the things work around here. So here, how the things work around here is an noun clause. The next one is adverbial clause. Dependent clauses acting as an adverb. So what is an adverb? Adverb, the word that powers to modify verb, adjective, and other adverbs. So the clauses that has power to modify verbs, adjective, and other adverbs are called adverbial clauses. For example, Alice did the dishes till her legs gave up. So here, till her legs gave up is an adverbial clause. The next one is I went through the book at a lightning speed. So here, at a lightning speed is our adverbial clause. So moving towards the third type of clause, that is principal clause or main clause. So these have a subject. Subject can rather be a noun or pronoun, finite verbs, and an object, and make full sentences that can stand alone and can act as the main part of a sentence. So a clause that has a subject, that has its own subject, and that have finite verb. What are finite verbs? The actual verbs are called finite verbs, and an object. So now what is object? Object is something towards which or thought or feeling or action is directed, and it makes a complete sense. It can stand alone in a sentence. It is a part of any sentence, but it can stand alone and can give us a meaningful sense. For example, I know that boy. So it is giving us a complete sense. The next one is Robin fishes like a pro. So it also gives us a complete meaning. And the last one is he can jog every morning. So it is also giving us complete meaning. The next one is coordinate clause. Two or more similarly important independent clauses joined by coordinating conjunction. So when we join two independent clauses together, the two similar independent clauses together, so that is a coordinate clause. That whole is a coordinate clause. That joining of two important independent clauses by a coordinating conjunction is coordinate clause. For example, I like taking photos and he loves posting for them. So here we have two independent clauses, that is I like taking photos, and the next one is he loves posting for them. So we have two independent clauses that are joined together by a coordinating conjunction, and it as a whole is called a coordinate clause. The next one is you prefer flying, but she always wants to take a bus. So here you prefer flying is one independent clause, and she always wants to take a bus is another independent clause that are joined together by a coordinating conjunction, and as a whole is a coordinate clause. So the last one is we are going to visit Harry or he is coming over. So here we also have two independent clauses, that is we are going to visit Harry, and the next one is he is coming over, and they are connecting by or, a coordinating conjunction. So the last type of clause is non-finite clause. They contain a participle or an infinite verb that the subject and a verb evident even though hidden. So non-finite clauses are those that contain a participle or an infinite verb. So a participle is a word which is partly a verb or partly an adjective. It can work as a verb or it can work as an adjective. So participle, we have present and past participle. The present participle is something when we put ing at the end of verb, that becomes a present participle, and it is used as an adjective. And past sentences, we can say that when verb is used as an adverb, so that is past participle. And the infinite verbs are those when we add to the word to the infinite verbs are those when we add the verb to the base verb. What are base verbs? Base verbs are simply the or actual verbs. For example, infinite verb, we can say that to do, to eat, to sleep. These are called infinite verbs that we add the word to the base verbs. For example, we can see the example of these. He saw the boy staring out of the window. Here staring out of the window is a non-finite clause, and our subject who was is hidden in there. The next one is she is the first person to enter the office. So to enter the office is a non-finite clause. We can say that to enter is an infinite verb. We add the word to the base verb. So the next one is hearing the fireworks, the children jump up. So here hearing the fireworks is our non-finite clause. So now moving towards the kind of sentences, as we have clarified our subject, predicate and clause in detail. So now moving towards us kinds of sentences. So as I've told you, there are three kinds of sentences: simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. So simple sentence is the one which has only one subject and a one predicate. For example, his courage won him honor. We can see that in this sentence we have only one subject and a one predicate. So such sentences are called simple sentences. Next one is compound sentences. Compound sentences are those which are made up of principal clause or main clause. Rather, we can say that a sentence that contains two or more principal clauses are called compound sentences. For example, we have an example: the moon was bright and we could see our way. Here we can see that we have two main clauses or principal clauses. That is, the moon was bright and we could see our way, and we join these by a coordinating conjunction and. So each part of this sentence contains its own subject and its own predicate, and each sentence can stand alone and can give us a meaningful sentence on its own. So each clause is therefore independent. These two clauses are independent. The moon was bright, we could see our way. These are two independent clauses. So these are main clause. They can stand on its own. So such kind of sentences that contain two or more principal clauses in them is called compound sentences. The next one is complex sentences. Complex sentences are those that contain one main clause and one or more subordinate clause, that contain one independent clause and one dependent clause together, are called complex sentences. Or we can say that the sentence that has one principal clause or one main clause with one dependent clause is called subordinate clause. It's called complex sentence. For example, as the boxers advanced into the ring, the people said they would not allow them to fight. So here we have three clauses, that is, as the boxers advanced into the ring, the people said, and they would not allow them to fight. So here we have three clauses. So here the people said is our main clause or is our principal clause. As the boxer advanced into the ring is our subordinate adverb clause. It is our adverbial clause. And the last, they would not allow them to fight, is our subordinate noun clause. So here we can see that we have one main clause and two subordinate clause, two dependent clauses with one main clause. So such sentences are called complex sentences. So here we are done with our today's lecture. I hope that you will understand this, and if there is any ambiguity, you can ask me in comment section. I'll make sure to clarify that in the next video. And in the upcoming video, we have parts of speeches. We will go through the parts of speech in detail. So stay tuned for the next lecture.